Thanks, brother.
Got it.
Yeah.
Hi, Michael Guth, SVP of Marketing at Spectrum Reach.
Mike, thanks for having me here today. My name is Ramon Soto. I'm a Senior Vice President with Northwell Health. We're the largest health system in the Metro New York market. 100,000 employers, about $23 billion in revenue, and we treat 6.5 million New Yorkers.
And a friend.
And a friend, a dear friend.
Very, very long time. So first question for you. A lot of candid conversations that we've been having have been about media and about audience targeting and segmentation and data and media buying, but so little of it has been about the content that has to go through. And really struck with a comment you said earlier, which is you live in that intersection of content and health. I'm curious about some of the things that you've been doing from an original content standpoint.
Yeah, so thank you for the question. We live in this kind of world of hyper-fragmentation of consumers and brands. And if you think about even the last election cycle, more consumers got their information from non-traditional news sources. So how do we actually reach an individual in an engaging way? And it's not enough to just throw a 30-second ad at them. So we've really tried to reimagine that whole construct from a content standpoint, and it's really the ecosystem you have to think about. It's the original message and how do you want to engage and drive relevance. And our fuel for that is this intersection of culture and health, and how does that inspire meaningful stories, meaningful engagement. How do we invite consumers in behind the glass to see the really special things that we do as a brand? And then how do we connect the two? How do we use media to actually reach them in a really engaging and powerful way?
So talk about some of the things that you've been doing in some of the shows that have been just remarkably successful.
Yeah, so that whole strategy has led to the creation of a studio, really focused on healthcare content at the intersection of culture and health. It's been a really powerful journey. I like to say that it was imagined in between this intersection of thoughtful strategy and dumb luck. We met two showrunners back about 7 years ago who had an idea, and most health systems would not show up and do this. We took a bet on them, and we invited them to film content in our institution and produce a Netflix show called Lenox Hill. That show, after 18 months of filming, produced about 40 million hours of viewership in the first 2 months. And it's gone on to have a really nice tail of engagement. And it allowed us to tap into this concept of fandom, right? So once you saw the content, you were not just a fan, you were a super fan. And it was translated to 54 languages, global reach, reached to 270 million people. And we found great benefit in expanding the brand outside of just the New York market on a national basis and an international basis. And it also changed the trajectory of our business. We started getting calls from France, from Saudi Arabia, from Australia, people who were seeing the content play out on the screen. We're going through a health event, and we're reaching out to us for a consultation. So it was really powerful platform.
Content still is king.
Content is king, and then it's about how do you connect them. The branded media world is an old world. In the past it was a soda can in a film. In the new world, we can be content creators, and then we can connect consumers. And that's kind of the highest form of the art. I have 7,000 doctors in my network. They all have truth and trust behind their relationship with consumers. How do I activate that to build more meaningful relationships and create some throughput and pull consumers through this very complicated and fragmented world?
So let's go the opposite. So this is content across the world, and yet that relationship, doctor-patient, is very much of a one-to-one local, and so much about your brands and multiple brands, even within New York City. How do you think about a portfolio by county or by neighborhood, and do you slice and dice it that way in terms of that engagement? Or
yeah, it's a great question. We are run by region, and you might think of the New York Metro as kind of monolithic.
Unless you live there.
Unless you live there, then you know.
Yeah.
It is as complicated as the United States, right? So Suffolk County out on Long Island, we call the Kentucky of New York, right? So incredibly red in terms of its complexion. Different competitors, different network, different products and services that we offer. So you really have to regionalize who you are and bring relevance down to the local level, including the communities. As you move closer to the city, the density of our services and the sophistication of our services increases. So we have to show up very, very differently. This is where segmentation and hyper-personalization is so important. And we move down this path to really understand all the medical information we have. Remember, 6.5 million New Yorkers each year, tens of millions of New Yorkers over time. Literally trillions of pieces of information about their healthcare. So how do you analyze that so that you can create clusters of consumers and reach them in a fashion so that they know there's an ecosystem that has gone through health just like them, and that there are physicians that are experts in where they are in their healthcare journey, and that we can meaningfully take the journey with them. And then that also turns up in terms of how we reach them. This ability to take that knowledge of who they are, tie it with a media partner, say, how do I find these people? And then build meaningful engagements and interactions with them.
You talk about engagement all the way through. Yeah. So what does that mean to you?
You know, traditionally, I don't know if anybody who's watching is a fan of healthcare marketing. I have never been a fan of healthcare marketing. Any category of it, from pharma, which is transactional by definition. Health systems have been terrible historically. It's because most of the healthcare players focus on the transaction of care, and consumers don't live their lives that way. Like if I talk about I'm the best at heart care, literally the addressable market at the time that commercial is in market is like 1% of the population. So think of the noise that it creates. Instead, how do I flip the script and talk about the journey of care and what consumers are relevant, what's relevant to consumers at any particular point in time, and be much more meaningful in terms of that engagement content. It's a way of having them know us before they need us, so they have a predisposition to use us. Of course, I have to market for the transaction,
right?
But that's just a small piece of the equation, and it's so irrelevant to the rest of the marketplace.
Love it. So I was love talking to you. All right, easy one. Next couple of days in Cannes, anything that you're looking forward to, anything that you're curious about, any questions?
I am actually really interested in what we're calling hyper-personalization. So we are really trying to look differently at the data that we have, not just for clinical insights, but for consumer insights, who they are, what they're going through, how do they cluster together, and how do I marry that data set with our ability to target. Because we're not the only ones who have witnessed this hyper-fragmentation of populations. You all are trying to figure out, okay, where are they going? How are they consuming content? The rise of the creator community, who are trusted messengers in this time of distrust. We think we occupy a really interesting space there. So we'll be doing quite a bit of experimentation to refine the model.
Well, I got a guy on hyper targeting in the local market.
I know you do.
Talk about later.
Yes, that sounds good.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.